It's 9:30 p.m. on a Tuesday here in the UK, and that can only mean one thing. The drivers of RCR are ready to go racing again. But first, we must decide in which order they will line up on the streets of Monaco. We're here in the Principality for what will be no doubt an arduous test for all our drivers. One lapse in concentration, and any of our drivers could find themselves making an abrupt contact with the barrier. 19 corners, 12 to the right, 7 to the left, one of which is the slowest on the calendar, the hairpin, where speeds drop to just 30 miles per hour. Just one DRS zone as well, which you will find on the start-finish straight. This illustrious and historic track has played host to many iconic moments and incredible victories. Ayrton Senna DNF'd in 1988, leading the race by 50 seconds over Gerhard Berger and Alain Prost. Senna's loss in concentration resulted in him going straight on at Portier. Prost went on to overtake Berger and win the race. So then, last week was quite the foray. We had wet weather. We've got wet weather qualifying here as well. It is absolutely, well, downpour at the moment. All these drivers going to be tested even more than they believed that they would at first. CJ took the lead of the championship by winning last week. Binary in second place, just 4 points behind. Both of these drivers can make an impact on the championship today, but in third place, Lex, unfortunately, cannot. He's not attending today. Last week he finished 8th, and well, another points deficit chance here, where he's going to drop a bunch of points to both CJ and potentially Binary as well, due to the fact that he is not attending. Yeah, then, so let's go join a driver on track. We've got 2 drivers out on track at the moment. Everybody with the wet tyre on. I'm not sure if people are expecting to see an improvement. We've got a couple of drivers out on laps. Increase the volume slightly of those cars as they go around. As you can see, some of the, well, all the drivers basically, they don't have team liveries on. Unfortunately, the game at the moment, they've updated it and they've broken the equal cars for specific teams, so no one can drive the Ferrari and the Mercedes and the Alpine, because not all cars are built equally when they're put on equal. So unfortunately for us, we do have to struggle with the basic F1 World car. So nobody's got the team liveries on at the moment, but it is a team championship. So then, on board with Reese Max at the moment. He's going down into turn 1. Absolute downpour at the moment. The weather really doing these drivers absolutely no favours whatsoever. He is going to have to lock this in. And you can see the back end there just kicking out a little bit as he goes down turn 4. Obviously the fastest man on the track in the first sector at the moment, mainly due to the fact that he is the first one to cross the line. And this is the hairpin I was talking about earlier on, just 30 miles per hour. He was definitely not going 30 miles per hour through there, as he oversteered and went a little bit into the hairpin. Was lucky to keep it out of the barrier, really. Reese Max, still with a valid lap time, will be the first driver to set a time. Oh, as he almost loses it. Flips the inside curb. Did well to do that. You normally stay off the curbs in wet weather due to the slip and the chance to lose the car. But in Monaco, you don't really have a choice. There's that little track to use. Sometimes you're forced to use nothing but curb. As Reese Max sets a time across the line, and it's a 1:27.4. Cycle Led starts his lap, and Santry is currently on a lap at the moment, coming up to Portier. Through the tunnel now. the only dry part of the track because it has a roof over it. You can see the Monaco circuit since 1929. That is indeed when its inaugural race was held. Obviously not part of the Formula 1 calendar then, the Formula 1 World Championship, should I say, as that only started in 1950. Santry looking good to take provisional pole at the moment. Some drivers have allowed the others to go around as Santry gets 3 seconds, 3.3 seconds over Reece Max. Cycle Leads has retired from the session. That is just out of the swimming pool. Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, swimming pool 1, sorry. Binary on intermediates. Captain Tifosi setting the fastest first sector of anybody so far. And I don't think any of these drivers expected where they're qualifying. See what Tifosi can do. Got a couple of drivers sitting in the pit lane, thinking about intermediates. Are they saving their tyres? I believe so. Saving the runs, basically, for when the track dries up slightly. As the cars go around and these wet tyres can displace a lot of standing water. And they'll displace the water off the racing line. And that will eventually, if the rain lets up a little bit, Santry puts in a 23.2. Captain Tifosi on a 26.4. Huffendobach on his outlap, coming up to the start-finish line and then approaching turn 1 Sandevot, and then the sharp right-hander braking hard from around 170 miles per hour, and then they drop to 50 miles per hour up the hill through Beau Rivage, turn 2. Driver reaches 155 miles per hour around there, maintaining a tight line to maximise the traction. Left-hander to the right of turn 4 Casino Square, easing off slightly, taking the corner 100 miles per hour, diving down to Mirabeau, and then coming up to the hairpin 30 miles per hour. Gets it nice and slow down, kind of lost the back end a little bit coming out of Mirabeau, but manages to keep it together as he comes up now to Portier. And then up to the tunnel, where then he will come to the Nouvelle chicane, braking, slowing down to 50 miles per hour. He's want to clip that inside curb. I think he's clipped it a bit too much. No, he hasn't. He's managed to keep the lap time valid. That'll gain him a lot of time there. The left-hander swimming pool turns 13 to 17 as he goes around, sets the fastest second sector of anybody so far. Now, coming up to... Oh, is he almost loses the back end there? Gets very close to the wall. Manages to keep it together. Now Lavascas rounding out the final corner through Anthony Nogues, turn 19. And then accelerating, reaching 90 miles per hour as they complete their lap and cross the start-finish line. And puts in a 1:23.787. It's close to Santry, but it's not enough. He's not pipped his time. So Santry still on provisional pole at the moment, as we've got Binary out on a flying lap. He's currently coming up to Casino Square now. Binary second in the championship, losing by 4 points, but that's not any tight margin by any standard. Last race he finished second. Got 4 podiums, 2 wins this season so far. Can he make it a third? 101 points in the Drivers' Championship. His teammate, I'm Mr. DJ CJ, is winning the championship. Both drivers are Red Bull drivers. Gets it nice and slowed down. Coming up to the swimming pool section. Turn 12, 13, 14. Looks so fast, you want to get tight. Do that inside barrier. See many of a replay during actual F1 weekends where drivers get incredibly close to the barriers and see as they brush them. Binary a 124.9. So this intermediate tyre, not fast enough yet. As we go on board with our championship leader, he's currently on an outlap. Websey crosses the line, a 125.3 on the full wets. Bantry currently on a 122.7, a class above the field at the moment. Full wet tyre, 1 second faster than anybody on the track at the moment. And he's done 4 laps on this tyre so far. Continuously pumping in the laps is Santry. CJ, our championship leader, just coming out of Sandoval into turn 2 and 3. In some nasty crashes. So Nico Hulkenberg, Kevin Magnussen and Sergio Perez this season. DJ on the intermediate tyre set the fastest first sector of anybody. Does well to keep the back end from hitting the barrier there. And this is looking good. This is looking good so far. We'll see just how good when it gets out of the second sector. It's purple again. Absolutely to the limit, as you can see. Flipping both curbs. Nice to hitting both apexes and then coming up to La Rascasse. Slowing it down. But still maintaining a decent medium speed. Through the final corner, turn 19. Anthony Noakes. DRS not enabled in the wet weather. Crosses the line and it's a 123.8. 1-4 as BXTN does him one better. 1 second ahead. Near enough with a 122.9. CJ will be disappointed with that, considering Santry yet again up on his time. Uffendobach got extremely close with a 122.8. BXTN on the Inters 122.9, but Santry still on the wet tyre manages to put in a 122.752. 6 laps on this wet, and he is still continuously going around and putting in these fast laps. That's 3 in a row, I believe. Maybe more than that. As this track continues to evolve, you can see as the cars go around, that dry line starts to form, but I think it's raining just enough to keep the wet tyre in play rather than the intermediate. Uffendobach. They almost become like rally cars in these wet conditions. Slazenger, a Volvo, goes out. RCR's only double world champion is now out on track. Cars doing well to stay out of each other's way as well. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2, but I believe that is the slow moving car out of the way. Oh, as Uffendobach hits the barrier and has unfortunately taken himself out of qualifying. He's got a good time of a 122.8, but that could all change. We've been seeing how this track has been evolving. There's only 4 minutes and 41 seconds left in the session, but that means that all this can change. We've moved on to BXTN, who is going fastest in the first sector, and that could be disastrous for Uffendobach. BXTN on the intermediate tyre. As the intermediate started to come into play, you can see that dry line. Riesmax is also DNF'd from the session. He was coming up to turn 12 and I believe he's hit the barriers. The yellow flag's waved in 2. Through the Nouvelle chicane goes BXTN. Navigating the left-right-left sequence. Powering down to 12 to back. Fast left-hander. He's come out of that and he's gone fastest in the second sector as well. Is this BXTN's pole position to take? He's not had a pole yet this season. BXTN rounds out the final corner, coming up to the start-finish line. There's just 3 minutes left in the session. He crosses the line, and it is a 1:22.153. Manages to go 0.3 faster than Websy, who took provisional pole temporarily, doing a 1:22.4, but on the full wet tyre. And it looks as though now it is time for these drivers to move on to the intermediates. Slazenger currently out on the lap as well. What can he do? It's currently on a 1:24.0. And as he rounds out the final corner, currently down in 6th in the championship, crossed the line. It's a 1:27, as I believe he's not gone faster. I think that may have been a warm-up lap for Slazenger. BXTN is going even faster now. Foot to the floor. Through turn 18. Getting it nice and slow down, letting the car roll out of 19. And then the run down to the start-finish line. BXTN, it's a 1:20. It's a 1:21.29 faster. This track certainly has got faster. Some drivers leaving it to the last minute. And it's DJ CJ coming out now. What can he do on this tyre? Slaz currently a second down. Binary on an outlap as well. BXTN continues a charge. Slazenger has invalidated his lap time. The only person on a lap at the moment on a potential lap is BXTN. We've got a yellow in Sector 2. Looks as though that has been cleared. I think it's for... Yeah, it is for BXTN, who's on a slow lap. Binary then. Going through turn 4 now. Binary currently sat in 5th place. Can he take provisional pole away from BXTN? He's currently 5/10 up on his time, but he's not the fastest man in Sector 1. That is still BXTN. Return 6, 7. You want to take the inside curb a little bit here. You can see that dry line on the track now. It's starting to dry up here, but I don't think it will dry to the point where we switch to slicks. Intermediates seem to be the perfect tyre at the moment. The bone dry tunnel. And again, down to the Nouvelle chicane. Turn 10. This is where Huffendobach took himself out of qualifying. Lex comes into the chat and says that the next race is his. Do not doubt that, Lex, not for one moment. Binary coming around the final turns now. And what can he do? It's a 1:20. It is a 1:21. It's 1:21.6. He goes faster, but not fast enough. BXTN still holds on. Slaz has invalidated his lap. He's going to cross these. Yeah, that's Slazenger's qualifying session over. Binary managed to cross the line, so he gets to do another lap. Captain Tifosi about to complete his lap. He's 2 seconds up on his time. What can Captain Tifosi do? 2 seconds up would put him ahead of Slaz. And it does put him ahead of Slaz. It puts him ahead of CJ as well. CJ currently sat in 7th. He's 1.5 seconds up on his time at the moment. That may potentially, depending on how well his final sector goes, that may be pole position. What's it going to be, though? Comes out of turn 19, crosses the line. It's a 1:21.7. It's 3rd place on the grid. Which means that the only person left that can remove BXTN, can dislodge him from provisional pole, is Binary at the moment, who has gone fastest in the 2nd sector. He's coming up to the penultimate corner. Brushing very close against those Pirelli barriers round the final corner. To the line, it's a 1:20. It's a 1:21.3. He misses out just missing out. coming second. He starts on the front row, which is incredible. For his chances, he finishes ahead in qualifying. Then his championship rival, CJ, the closest one to him, he's just 4 points behind, and he finishes just ahead on the first row of the grid. CJ, second row. That is our qualifying order then. Let's go through it. So BXTN, Binary, I, Mr. DJ, CJ, Websy shared the second row. Santry, Huff and Dolbach on the third. Captain Tifosi and Slazenger Volvo, they're together on the fourth. Reese Max and FR Element on the fifth. That's our top 10. FR Element, Cottony Goblin, Psycho Leds, all didn't set a time. Cottony Goblin and Psycho rounding out the final row of the grid. Lex says, I bet there's 3 DNFs and 3 safety cars. Let's see if his prediction is true as we're about to get into the race. So then, if we've never seen any RCR streams before, which I feel like all 5 of my viewers may have, we have a 5-minute break coming up. So this is where drivers can set the strategies, decide what they want to do in the race. Obviously, we don't know what it's at the moment. It looks like it's going to be a dry track, so that's going to be fantastic for them. I'm assuming that they all seen the weather, which means that they probably was all running dry setups in anticipation of this race. But yes, 5-minute break where they decide on their strategies. It could be soft to hard, it could be even a medium, but well, softs apparently go for 14 laps maximum, or before the cliff. Mediums 23. We'll be doing 39 laps of this 2.074 mile circuit. Has an average lap speed of 93 miles per hour. And as I was saying before at the start of the stream, Monaco has so much history. The Principality, 1992, and Senna was up against a much faster Williams of Nigel Mansell and managed to hold him off for a 5-lap shootout where Mansell looked like the faster driver, but the nature of Monaco meant that Mansell could not get past, and Senna went on to win that race back in 1992. And as we saw with that incredible pole from BXTN, speaking of incredible poles, in 2012, in his second stint in Formula One, returning to the grid in 2010, Michael Schumacher proved all of his doubters wrong, proved that he did in fact still have it, and he put his Mercedes on pole, beating out Mark Webber by just a few hundredths of a second. Unfortunately, an unrelated penalty demoted him to 6th. BXTN does not have that issue today. But yeah, Michael Schumacher demoted to 6th place for the race, but it was still a memorable and iconic moment for all the fans of the sport, nonetheless. Still waiting for drivers to ready up. I'm just going to make sure that my voice doesn't give out, so I'm just going to have a drink. Just bear with me 2 seconds. So then, as I was saying before, CJ currently winning the championship. He's on 105 points. We will bring those standings right back up on your screen. As you can see, Red Bull also leading the Constructors' Championship. Both drivers at the moment sharing places 1 and 2 in the drivers. CJ has an average finishing position of 3rd place, while his teammate Binary does as well. Then we have Lex in the Alpine, close behind, just 7 points. He's unfortunately missing this race. He's got an average finishing position of 4th, but managed to get a healthy lead ahead of BXTN and CJ, not BXTN and CJ, Binary and CJ. For unfortunately, he's won 3 races already this season compared to Binary, the next man to him with wins. Last race, Lex finished 8th. And then on to BXTN and Websy, the 2 AlphaTauri drivers and the triple Constructors champions. BXTN has won a Drivers' Championship, Websy has not. And they are in that order as well. BXTN to Websy, 5th and 6th. BXTN currently has 2 podiums. Websy has 3, but has not had such luck in the races overall. This is our calendar. As you can see, next week we have Canada, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Today we are in, obviously, Monaco. Monaco, 19 turns. And again, if you're just joining us, 19 turns, 12 to the right and 7 to the left. Speeds can drop to just 30 miles per hour. And again, average lap speed of 93 miles per hour. We'll be doing 39 laps of this race. We were mentioning Ayrton Senna before about how he crashed out of the 1988 Monaco Grand Prix. It was also where the famous qualifying session for Ayrton Senna, where he put in that incredible lap and put his McLaren on pole that day, which comes, I believe, many Formula 1 fans have seen the famous footage of Senna being in almost a dreamlike state, almost on autopilot, going around the Monaco track, which put his car on pole that day, but unfortunately he did not convert that into a win after DNFing. And speaking of Senna, we've got to mention his successes as well, as he had a monumentous victory in Monaco in 1990, which will forever be remembered for his exhibition of driving prowess, ascending to the lead after subsequent can't say that word. Subsequent deluge. Absolutely rain-soaked that day in 1990, and well, then coming out on top. I feel like it's been more than 5 minutes to you. As I say that, there we go then. So the lights then. Green for the formation lap. These drivers are going around BX10, leading them away through Saint-Devote. And can't be a commentary around the Monaco Grand Prix without saying that hopefully none of these drivers try any heroics into Saint-Devote. It's a night race, which is very different to the actual race. Never run at night. Run during the day with all the yachts out. For the drivers, circuit does look incredible under the lights. We've got some stories here in the top 3, even in the top 4. Websy, can he narrow the gap to his teammate? BXTN, can he narrow the gap to the top 2? Lex at the moment out of this race due to not being here. He's absent from this race. Captain Tifosi disqualified from the formation lap. He won't be disqualified from the race though. Hopefully he will get underway. Can CJ score good points over both Binary, who is ahead of him, and Lex in the championship? All questions that will be answered. We are moments away from all these questions being answered. over the next 39 laps of this historic track. Can you show the tyres? Of course I can show the tyres. So there you go then. BX10 starting on hards, Binary on hards as well, CJ on hards as well. There's 2 outliers in the top 8. That's Websy. And in the top. Here we go then. Stop talking for a second, and it's lights out. Away we go. BX10 does get off the line well. Binary, not so much. They're getting very close into Sandoval. As I said, no heroics. And 2 round the outside. Websy has managed to go up on the inside of CJ. They're both going up the hill. CJ holding on, but no. He's had to slot in behind Websy, who is pulled out into 3rd place. An incredible move there, and has made it count. Hard to overtake in Monaco. You can see here the possible race strategies. 1-stop strategy from medium to hard, or you can do the 2-stop as well, and then a hard to medium for those who are starting on the hards. BXTN. As CJ has managed to make his way up back past Websy. That must have been a very daring and incredible move, because as I was saying, you can't really overtake in Monaco. Oh, as we've had a crash in the back there. That's FR Element and Reese Max as well. Looks like a daring move. I'm going to keep an eye on these two because it looks a bit... Reese Max and Cottony Goblin. Not FR Element, sorry. Oh, yeah, sorry. And Captain Tifosi. As we've got a virtual safety car out for that collision, which does help Captain Tifosi a little bit. These drivers have to respect a Delta now. So virtual safety car for the uninitiated. Basically, the virtual safety car, the drivers have to respect a Delta time. They can't go faster than a certain speed limit or a certain time. They can only complete the lap in a certain time. Going any faster will result in a drive-through penalty. The virtual safety car will end when 1, the track is clear, and 2, where at a random time after that. So the track gets cleared, and then drivers are then told when the VSC has ended. So then green flags will be waved, and that will result, and sometimes it results in big gaps forming, as you can see. DJ was 1.2 seconds behind BXTN as Captain Tifosi gets said drive-through penalty. So he's just been into the pits for a wing change, and now he's got a drive-through penalty as well for speeding under the VSC. There you go then. Possible tyre strategies. Possible race strategies. Again, showing the medium to hard rather than the hard to medium. Binary losing place to BXTN, who's going fastest at the moment. Websy with a 121.3, and obviously as we end this virtual safety car period, we'll see other drivers going faster and faster and faster. It'll be the next lap where the actual time comes from, and they're going incredibly fast compared to qualifying. I'm Mr. DJ CJ all over the back of Binary at the moment, who he needs to finish ahead of. Score some good points. Scoring enough points over Lex at the moment to make Lex's absence hurt. FR Element getting very close to Cottony Goblin. And Websy getting very close to CJ as well. This is the battle for third. We'll keep an eye on this. CJ just blocking off. Websy just stuck in on the outside there, trying to find a way past. You need a good exit on the final corner, turn 19. DRS active at the moment. BXTN Binary putting in the fastest lap of the race. It's a 1:12.538 at the moment. He is the fastest man on track and will be scoring an additional point if it stays that way at the end of the race. Coming down after Casino Square to Mirabeau, and then to the hairpin. And Websy currently fastest man in the second sector. We'll go on board with Websy. Just have a look how it looks on board the driver from the driver's point of view almost. Almost. Incredibly easy to get this track. One lapse in concentration. It's incredibly easy to get this wrong. One lapse in concentration and it's game over. As you can see, the barriers right up to the limits of the track, and the drivers, to get the maximum out of to get the maximum lap time, must utilize the entire track, and to keep position they need to utilize the entire track as well. This is that apex. Just by a little bit, you could see that CJ took a tighter line and pulled a 10th on Websy, who needs to use these medium tyres. The medium, the faster of the two tyres. The harder compound, slower but more durable. And it looks as though if Websy can't get past, then he's banking on the medium first. May hurt him later on, as he's going to pit before everybody else, or everybody else on the hard tyre. He's then going to come out into what may be traffic. And by pitting earlier, will that mean that then he gets stuck in the traffic, and then when the other drivers pit later on, he's lost even more time. So he really needs to make this strategy work. He is, you can see with how he's staying with CJ, that he may be the faster car on the track at the moment of the four drivers, and it's fine margins between all of them. Just 5 seconds, sorry, from first to sixth, if that. 5 seconds from first to seventh, even. On board with Binary, who has stayed within a second of BXTN, who looked to be running away with this at the start, but has now been reeled in a little bit, and he's not just going to run away with this race as it stands. You could see that BXTN got a little bit out of shape, and it means that Binary has gained 2 tenths on the Irish driver. Huff and Dolbach with a 1:12.4. He did look incredibly fast in the qualifying, but unfortunately for him, crashed out early on, and it's put, well, not early on, but he crashed out towards the end as the track was beginning to really ramp up in qualifying, and well, that's put Huff and Dolbach down into 6th place. We'll look at the position changes actually as well, if I can figure out how to do that. Penalties, position changes, there we go. So it's just the up to the top, or up to the final 7 where positions have actually changed. Slassinger's gained a place, Psycho 4 places, Cottony 2. Everyone behind them losing places. Reese Max, FR Element both lost a place, and Captain Tifosi down 5 places after his horrible crash. And Slassinger Volvo has retired from the session. Where is that on track? That is exactly where Huff and Dolbach crashed. Just into the Nouvelle chicane. It's another virtual safety car, which is quite a surprise. You'd expect a full course safety car. As Santry comes into the pits then. Onto the hard tyre. He can take those to the end potentially. DRS has been re-enabled as the virtual safety car is ending. Slaz has left the session. That's going to be a massive hit to his points and his championship. Huff and Dolbach only 3 points behind him. This will put Huff and Dolbach up ahead. Two VSC so far, 1 DNF. As Lex points out, he banked on 3 SCs and 3 DNFs. He's not far off now. We've only had 8 laps though. I'm starting to fear it may be more. As this virtual safety car this time around has actually allowed the field to spread a little bit. Which has given... It gave BXTN... I was about to say it has given, but it hasn't. BXTN had a little bit of breathing room over Binary. Binary looking to close up again. And the drivers that suffered from the virtual safety car, where they've fallen out of the second gap that they had, to the next driver will be cursing it at the moment. They'll hate Slaz for the fact that he's crashed out of the Monaco Grand Prix and ruined ruined the little DRS train that they had going on. I'll tell you what, just to point out, CJ did incredibly well. Incredibly well to get back past Websy in the first lap. I wish we'd picked it up on the stream. As Websy got the better start, ahead, uphill after Sandevot. Binary now all over the back of BXTN, who seems to be struggling. But not only that, is BXTN now holding up Binary. But this could be just gamesmanship as well. This could be the fact that BXTN knows that it's going to be a struggle for Binary to get past. There has to be a decent... You have to have a decent pace advantage over your rival ahead to make an overtake here in Monaco. It's not just the fact that the track is narrow. It is also the fact that that there's not many overtaking opportunities. There's not many straights. You've got this one through the tunnel, which doesn't have a DRS zone and is not really a straight. And then you've got the start-finish straight as well, which is only so long and doesn't really offer an overtaking opportunity, again, unless you've got a massive pace advantage over the car ahead. And is this BXTN just saving his tyres a little bit? It very well could be. Go on board with Santry and Cottony Goblin, who are chasing down Psycho Leds, who's gained 6 places. A nice move into Sandevot from Cottony Goblin, who goes around the outside of Psycho. We have rain in Monaco. So this is why some drivers banked on the harder tyre. The medium goes 23 laps. So Websy didn't necessarily need this to work. The rain has started to downpour in Monaco, which could open up a whole world of possibilities. No longer will overtaking be an issue if these drivers lose their DRS. Or it may not be an issue if these drivers lose their DRS, but also their sense of stability. As Websy comes into the pits, what's happened with Websy? Is that intermediate tyres already? That's intermediate tyres already. So does Websy believe that he can come out? These tyres will be ready for... Yes, he's banked on it. It's going to be difficult, as these tyres will start to burn up. They are really designed for... this is trying the undercut. They're designed for cooler temperatures. They displace water slightly. They're not designed on a hot track. So the rain really needs to help Websy here. Reese Max, FR Element coming into the pits. And Websy is gaining. You can see the 10s dropping down. He's on a 17 flat at the moment from Huff and Dolbach. It's now a 17.6. He's potentially done it. BXTN will be coming into the pit soon. And will they all be switching on to the intermediate tyre? This could be an absolutely incredible strategy call from Websy. And Mr. DJ CJ is about to be held up. No, he's not, because it's the different team garages. Okay. So switching to the intermediate tyre. Has Websy done enough? He's coming out of the final corner. CJ coming out of the pit lane. Websy, he manages to get past our Mr. DJ CJ. Is he past Binary? No. Just behind. Just behind, as CJ gets a 3-second penalty for corner cutting as well. So he's lost out to Websy, who has moved up and now has them tyres in the optimal working temperature range. As Lex says, rain equals 1 DNF at least. Yes, rain does equal 1 DNF at least. I'm hoping not. We've only got 11 drivers left, but here we go. Great strategy call from Websy, who thrives in these wet conditions. Pulled off an undercut on CJ and is now hunting down Binary, who is losing BXTN. He can't keep the pace the same as BXTN can in these wetter conditions. He was all over the back of BXTN before, and now he's already 1.4 seconds behind. Albeit he did come into the pits, and coming into the pits here especially can make it so you do lose a couple of tenths trying to get the car slowed down. The pit lane speed limiter line is right at the pit entry, which is very unique to this track. CJ catching back up. Websy, who was essentially stuck behind Binary at the moment, who's losing time to BXTN ahead. Santry all over the back of Cottony Goblin, who made that incredible move around Psycho into the first corner. But now Santry may be repaying the favour soon. We've got penalties across the board at the moment. We've got a few penalties going from CJ onwards. So 3 seconds to CJ. But at the end of the race, if he's close within, well, obviously within 3 seconds of drivers behind, then they will gain the places on him. So he's got to be careful of that. Luckily for him, Huff and Dolbach 2.2 seconds behind. He can pull that out to 3 seconds, but it looks like Huff and Dolbach is actually closing in on that time rather than losing it. Psycho leads 3 seconds, 6 seconds to FR Element and Reese Max, and 3 seconds to Captain Tifosi. So then, if you're just joining us, welcome to RCR. As you can see, we have a wet night race in Monaco. We didn't know it was going to be wet, and Websy starting in 4th place. Got an excellent move on CJ, got off the line incredibly well, started on the medium tyre compared to CJ on the hard, but then lost the place back immediately on the first lap. However, has now managed to find himself back into 3rd place after an incredible strategy call that put him ahead with an undercut, just pitting a lap earlier than everyone else. He almost got Binary as well, but luckily for Binary, his team managed to get him out of the pit lane just in time as Websy closed in. Couple of drivers, both being Santry and Captain Tifosi, have opted to go onto the full wet tyre. He is looking a lot wetter than it were, but I don't think it's wet enough for full wets just yet. But we'll see. BXTN avoids the pit lane. Binary avoids the pit lane. Websy avoids the pit lane. Nobody going in for wets at the moment. Yeah, so a bit of an early strategy call for those at the back who have got nothing to lose. They've got, Santry only got 2 points, 4 points to gain. if he remains in 8th, and he has remained in 8th. He's losing time, sorry, to Psycho Leds. Just closed up 2/10 as I said that, but it's not looking like he's gaining a chunk of time. You know when you made the right strategy call when the time starts tumbling down, and it has not yet. It's still around that 5.6, 5.8 interval range at the moment. Still just a light drizzle. I don't think it's raining enough for the tyres, the intermediate tyres, to not be displacing enough water to keep the grip. CJ picks up another 3-second penalty. This will hurt. As he is chasing down Websy still. And this is Monaco. This is Monaco. This still all is not lost for those who have penalties. It's not lost for those sitting 2.3 seconds behind the race leader. As I said before, Ayrton Senna, 1988, was winning the Monaco Grand Prix after an incredible pole lap and what looks like an absolutely dominant drive to the finish. Crashed out during the race after a lapse of concentration, and that's why I keep saying all you have to do is be consistent and keep your concentration here. 50 seconds over Gerhard Berger and Alain Prost resulted in no points scored whatsoever, so it is not over until it's over here at Monaco. We've seen Slaz and Volvo crash out from 6th place. The only driver so far in these 16 done laps, and we are now on the 17th lap. The only drivers so far to DNF from this race. By the way, Reese Max, thank you very much for the follow. Just seen that now. Really appreciate it. That puts me up onto 204. And it's, yeah, really appreciate all the support. And now we've got some intervals, some bigger intervals than 1 second forming up as CJ manages to get back within 1 second of Websy, who did look to be quite fast on those intermediate tyres. They are now 6 laps old compared to everyone else's 5 laps or 4 laps. And Santry is not making an impression, is he, on those wet tyres? He's fallen back down to 9th place. And the race dulling down a bit. You can see the rain. Threw a bit of random into the mix. Cotton the Goblin picks up a 3-second time penalty as well. It is looking as though some of these drivers, though, may be coming up to lap some cars. BXTN goes past Captain Tifosi. Binary will have to do the same soon. And that's FR Element just up the road ahead of BXTN, our race leader. Waved blue flags. So in most motorsports, blue flag just means be aware there's a faster car approaching. They don't have to get out of the way. In Formula 1, a blue flag means that the slower car the lapped car does have to move over where they deem safe, be predictable, stay out of the way as the faster car moves past. CJ has closed in to Websy now. You can see that gap coming down from 1 second to just 5/10 as they navigate the lapped cars. As you can see, some of these cars, the lapped cars are ghosted. That's just a decision by the league to essentially promote better racing. Obviously, that doesn't happen in real life because it would be absolutely impossible. However, it just allows, you know, it avoids any messy situations where a lapped car doesn't get out of the way. And CJ is absolutely all over the back of Websy now, just 2/10 behind as they come up to the Nouvelle Chicane. through turn 12 up to 13, and he is sticking with him. CJ started this race ahead of Websy and will be very much looking to get past him again on track. He does have to pull out them 6 seconds that he currently has in penalties, or hope that Websy does the same and picks up some penalties along the way. Websy now 3.6 seconds off the next man in front of him, Binary. And all Websy has to do is just place his car accurately and with purpose. Take up as much track and keep his car as wide as possible. Huffendobach joining this party now. Websy losing time. He's 4.2 seconds. He's driving in his mirrors now. You can see very conscious. CJ behind, who's just clipped the inside of that wall. Has he got away with it though? I think he got away with that on the exit. He has managed to get away with it. Wing looks intact, luckily for him. Could have been much more disastrous. Santry has pulled back up. The Reese Max a little bit. 3.7, 3.8 seconds. Still no impression. FR Element pits. Go on board with FR Element. Into the pit line the driver goes. He's got one of the last pit boxes, which is quite advantageous in Monaco. Quite a detriment actually in Monaco, sorry, if there's lots of drivers pitting at the same time. Gets a wing change and goes out onto intermediate tyres. So just 2 drivers still believe that this is intermediate. This is wet, full wet weather. The rest of the field still on the intermediates. Drivers slowing down to 50 miles per hour to navigate this sequence of corners. Coming up to turn 12, the fast left-hander of Tabak. Through the swimming pool section, turns 13 to 17, where we get all the way to La Rascasse. So this is after the DRS detection point. Here we go, slowing down, right-hander. Hard to get right every single time, Rascasse. Now Anthony Noakes onto the start-finish straight. Huffendobach closer to CJ than CJ was to Websy. Or is to Websy now. CJ losing out to 1.1 seconds. So you've got to about 5/10 over just under Websy. He's now outside that 1 second mark. Huffendobach starting to put a little bit of pressure. But in Monaco it's easily subverted. That pressure. Drivers have confidence that so long as they plant the car right and do not lose their cool, an overtake may be near impossible for Huffendobach. He needs a great pace advantage, as again Reese Max with another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That was a nice shot through the watching CJ as he comes out of the second sector into the third. Reese Max pitting once again. Got that 3-second time penalty. And now into the pits he goes. Back out again. Looks like he's got a wing change. He's gone onto the full wet tyre. Just 9/10 CJ has to Websy now, so he's pulled back in again. You can see there's just so much that a driver can do. On a normal track, however, Monaco, no matter if you're faster or not, it's incredibly difficult for anyone to overtake you. Pouring down rain, night race as well to make visibility even more of a challenge. We do obviously have the lights available to us. It's just another thing. It's just another added difference to what is the norm of this track. Daylight, sunshine. But not today. This driver's being tested. CJ pulling up to 5/10 on Websy now. This is for the podium. This is for a podium place. Luckily for CJ, BXTN is inching out Binary at the moment. Binary was to win this race. It would be a lot more hurtful to CJ in his current position, especially. Binary will take the lead of the championship, though, as it currently stands. Binary will take the lead of the championship by 2 points over CJ, as he's scoring 18 at the moment. Who has the fastest lap? Fastest lap currently with Santry, who done a 1:12.0. And that will probably not change unless this weather dries up. Off and go back. Now just 7/10 behind CJ. The yo-yoing of times at the moment. CJ goes within a second of Websy, then drops out of a second of Websy. Then Huff and Dobak gets in a second, within a second to CJ, and drops out. It's just all about keeping your concentration, keeping you cool. FR Element done 3 laps on this tyre. These few drivers are a lap down, however. It is only a 1:15 lap around here. In the wet weather, probably about a 1:20, maybe even more, 25. So we've got a yellow flag in Sector 1. Who does that belong to? Is that Reese Max? Yes, it is. Lost an end plate of his front wing as he gets lapped. That was by Santry. Wasn't. Cotton a Goblin. We got there in the end. Just needs to keep this up now. BXTN, our race leader, we've barely seen any of him, and that is because he's had this race so under control the entire time. You normally do not see much of the race leader if there is no race for them. He has had his challenges. He's obviously had Binary within seconds of him at some points in this race. However, he's now got a nice comfortable 2.122 second gap over Binary at the moment. Over halfway distance, almost 3/4 through this race. As BXTN navigates traffic, Binary starts to close back up. Into the pits, goes Psycho Leds. 12 laps on the intermediate tyre. And he's going to full wets. So is this a decision now for the drivers to make? The rain still looks relatively the same, albeit a bit harder. You could see that CJ almost lost the back end a little bit there out of turn 1. Actually, the rain does look a bit more torrential than it was before. Offendoback has closed back up. Go on board now with our race leader. Nobody making an impression on this race just yet. Cycle leads 17-3 to Santry ahead. The XCN still managing to get it slowed down. Drivers on the wet tyre will be displacing water maybe for the drivers on the intermediate. You can very much clearly still see a dry line or a drier line. Is there a decision to be made though? Cycle leads 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Cottony Goblin into the pits and out again. Cottony Goblin has decided that it's still not full wet weather. Bit of a tongue twister, weren't it? Full wet weather. CJ has pitted. CJ has pitted and gone on to the hard tyre. Onto the hard tyre. That would have been an incredible daring feat. He's decided to go full wet. It is absolutely pouring down. Let's see if he can make an impression on the drivers ahead. 16-2, 18-6, 18-7. Caution in the first sector. In the second sector, sorry. Looks like it may have been the wrong decision. 18-8, 18-7. Maybe the tyres just need to warm up a bit. He has just come out of the pits. Now down to an 18-6. You know it's the right decision once the time starts tumbling down. DJ has indeed gone all or nothing. He has 6 seconds of time penalties. Huffendobach has pitted. And has gone onto a set of wets, but CJ has come out ahead of Huffendobach, exactly where he were before. 22 seconds to Websy. He's got to make this count. 21.9. 21.8. He's gaining. There's blue flags waved as well. He'll be screaming to get this driver ahead of him out of the way. 21.7. He needs to get the time within this lap, as those in front will have enough time to react. Let's go up front. Let's see what they do. BXTN rounds out the final corner. Does not come into the pits. Binary rounds out the final corner. Does not come into the pits. Websy made that decision before and decides not to. Websy was one of the first ones to go onto the intermediate tyre. Was the first one to go onto the intermediate tyre. And has decided that it's not worth going onto the inters at this point, onto the full wets at this point. But CJ has took a second out of his time over the course of his lap. But to the floor at the moment. CJ trying to pull off an undercut. Floating in the first sector around the 21.1. It's in the second and third sector though, where he gains all of his time. Surely the drivers ahead will have to react And we're coming up to that moment now. Again. Reese Max has retired from the session. What is that going to mean for this race? It's a Sector 2 full yellow. Websy comes into the pits. Double yellows in Sector 2. And where is this going to leave CJ? It's incredibly close. It's got to be absolutely extremely close at the moment. Websy's coming out of the pits. CJ's coming onto the start finish straight. Has he gained enough time? Websy out of the pits. CJ does not manage to gain the place, but Websy has opted for the intermediate tyre. Has Websy made a mistake? Five tenths. It's looking very interesting at the moment. CJ incredibly close. The unfortunate thing is at the moment we can see the time coming down still. However, Websy needs to warm up these tyres. He needs to get some heat into these tyres to get them in the operational temperature. To show the true pace of the tyre. However, I'd say around half distance he's losing his mind at the moment. He's losing his mind at the moment. CJ is putting the pressure on, and Websy has no answer for it by the looks of it. It's 3 tenths between the two. Incredible exit there by Websy though. Managed to pick up 2 tenths out, and also a further tenth out of the final corner. 5 tenths between these two. It's so close. It looks like CJ is on the faster tyre still. This will be the lap that decides that though. If Websy can start to pull away. But the others will be watching this. Surely the others will be watching this. And then deciding, when I pit, do I go onto the inter or do I go onto the wet? And at the moment, I think the jury is out that it should be the wet tyre that everyone goes to. 5 tenths between the two of them. And it is remaining at that. Are we at this transitional period where the weather is just good enough for wets and just good enough for intermediates? Surely not. If the wet tyre was the wrong tyre to be on, I don't think the CJ would remain within a second for so long. Although, now that I say that, it is starting to come back to Websy. Nine tenths. Binary and BXTN. If they do not box soon, BXTN should be fine and could go to the end. Websy not making an impression though on those ahead of him. 20 laps. They have done 18 more laps. They have done on their tyres. First and second. Binary and BXTN. And yet Websy not taking the time out that he thought he would be here. He's going to finish 20 seconds off them. So long as the tyres hold out. They've done 20 laps on them so far. 21 laps on this tyre. And they're looking to go to the end. CJ out of a second now. The Cycle Leads gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Offendoback, no threat to CJ at the moment. He was before. Looks like CJ will be maintaining 4th place as it stands. Can he come out ahead of Websy though? That is the real question. It looks like Websy is driving in his mirrors at the moment though. They're so close together through the hairpin. And of course, it goes without saying, but I need to say it again. It's incredibly difficult to overtake at Monaco. It just is. You need to have an incredible pace advantage. If this was any other track, this battle would be over. But it still goes on. May not be for the win, but like Senna and Mansell in 1992, with a bit more jeopardy of the night and the rain. It looks as though this could go on till the end of the race, and Websy just needs to keep his head, which from the times that he's putting in, it doesn't look like that is what he's doing. Unless 20-lap-old Inters go just as fast as 2-lap-old Inters. CJ all over the back. This may be his opportunity. There's no overtaking opportunity available here, but he needs to create something by the looks of it. He must create something. Just 2/10 behind. Websy goes defensive. Websy goes defensive. That means CJ is going to get the outside line. No space though into the hairpin. Again, CJ just cutting to the inside, trying to switch back, looking for any opportunity he can. And these two are running down the clock at the moment. Websy trying so desperately to hold his nerve as he has. You can see the whites of CJ's eyes through his visor in his mirrors. An incredibly close battle between these two. Websy jumped CJ on the line. CJ got past again. Within the first lap, an incredible overtake. It must have been we didn't catch it, as CJ now loses out of a second. We're on lap 36 of 39. BXTN and Binary both looking to go to the end on these intermediate tyres. Websy and CJ both opting to pit. Is Binary closing up to BXTN though? The leader of the race. Also not all sewn up just yet for BXTN. As Websy and CJ navigate traffic. Blue flags waved. We're on board at the moment with I Mr. DJ CJ. Coming through to back. We've got yellows in sector 2. But they have been they've been taken down. So brush with a barrier for CJ. We're managing to keep it together. Binary now 5/10 within BXTN. It's getting so close towards the end of this race. The rain is coming down. It must be incredibly difficult, and BXTN is also coming up to some more traffic as well. It's getting close now, just 7/10 between the two of them. Just 3 laps to go if you include this one. And it may be like, it will be like this by the scenes of it all the way to the line. I don't know what them tyres will be like, but in this rain, with this much wear, They must be horrible to be on. Blue flags waved. You can see the marshal there. And the light panels. Showing blue flags for the car ahead. It's so close between Binary and BXTN. They're on the start, finish straight. No DRS though. And they are battling it out as Binary goes deep into the first corner. Doesn't look like he lost too much time. We are on the second to last lap. And BXTN, like Websy does as well, just needs to hold his nerve. It's so close between the top four, between BXTN and Binary, and then a separate battle between Websy and CJ. Websy and CJ would be in the top four battle as well, or close to it, or closer to it, had they not pitted. But they opted for fresher tyres, fresher rubber to round out the final stages of this race. It is close. It is so close. Are we going to see a changing of the lead? Are we going to see BXTN valiantly defend what is rightfully his? He has led this race from start to finish near enough. And he is putting on a masterclass at the moment in defensive driving. And also starting to pull away from Binary, who's managing these tyres better, you must say, at the moment, if he's able to close up to a second. Or could it be the traffic that BXTN has faced has slowed him down a bit and allowed Binary to close up, as Binary, though, proves that point wrong and closes up a further 2/10 after losing a bit of time. CJ and Websy, it's the final lap, 7/10 between the two of them as well. And this is where we're going to witness, it's his yellow flag as Captain Tifosi retires from the session late on. He's crashed in the Nouvelle chicane. But we're going on board. We've got to continue calling this race. Captain Tifosi, heartbreak for him. He's not going to finish ninth by the looks of it. And CJ on the back of the gearbox of Websy's car. We've got to keep an eye on this battle at the moment. It's getting desperate now. There may be some desperate moves made. Yellow flag, sector 2. Closing in. Binary on BXTN. It's a do or die situation. Last opportunity to make an overtaking move, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. BXTN comes up to the start finish line. He crosses it and wins the Monaco Grand Prix at RCR. Binary comes second. Websy coming up to the final corners now through La Rascasse. CJ just 5/10 behind. It's still very close between these two, but not close enough. Websy just 19 seconds off the lead after pitting. Crosses the line. He finishes the final podium sitter. CJ misses out by just 4/10 of a second on track, but 6/10 of a second. 6 seconds, 6 further seconds. By the timing sheet. Huffendolbach misses out to CJ, 2.7 seconds. It's miles off for Cottony Goblin, who just manages to come 6th. We only had 12 drivers at the start of this race, so plenty of point scoring opportunities. Captain Tifosi did the required 90% of the race, crashes out on the second to last lap, so he will still pick up 1 point, and it's FR Element that crosses the line to round out our last finishers. He picks up a further 2 points in his championship bid. So then, first place BXTN, an incredible showing, wins in Monaco and closes up the points gap to the top 3. As we will, there he is. And what can we say about BXTN's win from start to finish? He was a class above the rest, really, until the rain came. He managed the race well and then continued to manage the race well. Very hard to make an impression on the top 4 though, must say. Even if I say he's a class above the rest, does not mean the rest were slow. Just incredibly difficult to stay consistent here in Monaco. So then, there you have it. BXTN wins the race. Does not get the fastest lap though. Binary in 2nd place. Websy 3rd. That rounds out our podium. And Mr. DJ CJ finishes 4th with 2 time penalties. Manages to fend off Huff and Dobak, who finished 5th. Scored 10 points. Cotton and Goblin, Santry, Psycho Leds, FR Element, and Captain Tifosi round out our top 10. Reese Max and Slazenger in 12th. It's 112.036 for Santry, who scores the fastest lap and a further point in his championship bid. So then, if you've watched the stream all the way to the end, I'd like to thank you for watching and just tell you about RCR. RCR, we race every week at 9:30 p.m. I am talking in game chat. Why am I talking in game chat? I'm not in party chat the entire time. Wow. That's devastating. Did start a party. Anyway. We'll do that so then we're not talking all over the down the driver's ears as the sat in the lobby. So, if you have watched the streams before, yes, we are RCR. We race every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. UK time. We allow all skill sets to join. We allow all assists apart from those that drive the car for you. So there's no pit lane assist, no steering assist, and no braking assist. However, we do allow automatic gears and ABS as well, and racing line to go with that. I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who watched the stream one more time, and we'll see you again next week when we go to Canada. Bye bye for now.